got Vida Guerra, said it right. Cuban-born, American glamour model, actress, wellness products, all kinds of stuff. You've done 10,000 transitions in your life. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been about 20 years in the entertainment business. And before that, I was a loan officer. I was a computer technician. I was what else did I do? I mean, it's so long. I just turned 49 a week ago. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I've lived so many different lifetimes.
Well, just the couple of days of research, I'm like, wow, this is a lot of shit in a little bit of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? The bad thing, I guess you can say is a bad thing is like I feel like I haven't even done anything, you
That,
know?
that's good though, because it keeps you motivated.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
that's
you,
true.
now you guys, you migrated over here, came over here from Havana, Cuba, right?
Yes. I had turned five. Well, I was five. I turned six in Costa Rica. So we left Cuba in February 2nd, I believe it was, of 1980. And it took us about 3 months to get to the States. We were in Bahamas, in Costa Rica, and then we ended up in Miami. And then from Miami, everyone always thinks I'm from Florida, which I wish I was, but unfortunately I wasn't. We went. We weren't in Florida for too long, and then we went to New Jersey. And I'm not, I'm from the Caribbean, so I love the warm weather. So Jersey was definitely something that I had to get used to.
Yeah, we have I mean, literally, you could throw a rock at it. There's a place, it's called Havana. It's all Cuban food, and they're open 24 hours. They've been here 60 years, and it's packed
Oh,
constantly.
wow.
Yeah. And then my
Where's
barber,
that?
it's right down the street on Palm Beach, right here in Palm Beach Island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they've stood the
Nice.
test of time through everything. And then my barber,
Wow.
he's from Cuba, and he's been trying to get his father over because of the whole Castro thing over there. He said it's insane over there right now. So they've been going back and forth trying to get it. And whenever he comes over, when I give him a Coca-Cola, he throws it in the trash
Mhm.
can because he's like, this is shit. Because I guess over there it's more pure. They don't put all the stuff in it with the expiry, to make it the preservatives.
Yeah.
It's just so
Yeah.
funny.
Coca-Cola shouldn't be something to be drinking, though. It's bad.
Yeah, I'm offering the guy the wrong thing, and he's always like, water, water, water. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. Now, I know you were young, but was it a really crazy culture change, even at six, to come here to America, where everything's different than Cuba for you, or were you too young to really realize what was happening?
Um, I was too young. I think as children, we kind of adapt to circumstances, right? And we don't really know the profound effect that it has on us until we, become adults and then see like a little bit of, different like triggering issues that could arise from that situation. But for me, it was hard because I didn't know how to speak English, and it's so crazy because now I feel like I can't speak English correctly or Spanish correctly. I'm like somewhere in the middle.
That always amazes me how someone like yourself who comes from Cuba, because your English is perfect. Your English is probably better than mine. I mean, you can ask him.
No.
now, now you come over, and what gets you into fashion? Like, I know you started with swimwear, but like when I was growing up, I was trying to do the moonwalk like Michael Jackson, and dunk the ball at 4'2", trying to dunk like Jordan. Did you have a role model or someone you looked up to that got you into fashion, or what was it initially that got you going down that path?
Okay, so So when we came to the States, right, I was 6 years old. And then when I was 8 years old, I was signing paper and I was like practicing my signature. And my parents were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I just keep doing it. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, because I'm gonna be a famous model one day." This is at 8 years old in the United States. I'm like, and people are gonna ask me for my autograph, so I gotta make it perfect. And they're like, crazy. Like, what am I talking about? What is a famous, Like, I don't even know. And even at school, like people were like, how the teachers like, oh, everyone what they want to do when they get older. I was like, I'm gonna be a famous model. I'm gonna be in the cover of magazines. And everyone thought I was crazy because I'm only 5'2", right? And so like when you look at the models, they're all like 5'8" and above. And I mean, technically, I wanted to do like runway. Every time there was like, I love the whole runway and walking and stuff, but I'm too short for that. But I still accomplished, being in the cover of magazines. So that was pretty cool.
And then, do you remember your first fashion show? It was swimwear, right? That was the first fashion show that you did?
Well, when I was 18, I did a local fashion show in the town that I grew up in, Jersey, which was called Perth Amboy, which is called Perth Amboy, I should say. And we did everything, even we did lingerie, and that's when it started because my dad looks like Al Pacino, right? He's very
Oh. Did he have a heart?
like,
Did he have a heart attack?
and well, I came out in like a teddy. Like one of the scenes was I had to come out in a teddy, um, and my dad's there, and there's all the people from my town there, and my dad's like looking and like, what the hell, you know? And he didn't speak to me for like 3 months after that. And the same thing happened when I first came out in FHM, and my dad was like, "What the heck?" Because he was extremely strict, which I didn't like it at the time, but I'm kind of glad that he was the way he was because it kept me being a good girl.
Yeah, my grandfather was like, he was we call him old school, old school, where they're not into that shit, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
my grandfather, he had no problem letting me know what's up, no problem. My mom, I could get away with murder, but my grandfather, oh hell no, and someone at that age who is aspiring to be what you are at that time, when you're 18, then you get into the magazines and your dad's like not talking to you. What are some things advice you would give to a younger woman now who's 17, 18, 19 getting into this? I mean, the world's changed now, but
Oh my God.
what's some advice you would give? And I just have to say that, like, I'm from Philly, he's from New York. To go from Cuba to Jersey, that must have been a cloudy. Must have been wait. You're like, where's the sun? Where's the beautiful sky? It's fucking clouds all day.
I know. Every year since most of my family started, going to Florida, my dad would be like, "We're gonna move next year, and we're next year," And it was during the winter that he would say it, and come spring and summer, you forgot about it, already. And then by the time the winter comes again, you're like, "Come on, I thought we were leaving." But what I would say to a young girl aspiring to be a model, are you saying?
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like a difficult thing. It's like a wild, wild west right now. As a young woman, I think that they shouldn't do like anything that they don't want to do or that goes against like their morals. Because you hear so many different horror stories with people with photographers or just people in the industry. And I think it's important for them to have a good sense of self before that. Like I was very strong because I think it's just the way that I was brought up. but I've seen, girls kind of go down a wrong path because of it. See, now for me, like I did the fashion show, and then I worked corporate jobs. And I was like, one day, when I was 28 years old, that's when, the whole fame, everything happened for me. So I was mature. I already had lived life, so I understood a lot of things. Um, but you know, I wouldn't want to be a young adult right now in this world with social media and the comparisons. It's just too much, and I think if anyone is trying to be successful in something, it doesn't matter if it's modeling, acting, or any kind of job. They have to have a good sense of themselves and keep their morals and standards high and not do something because it's going to bring them something.
That's a good point, because I don't think people want. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all type of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top. This episode is sponsored by ZBiotics. What is ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic? The ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is a genetically engineered probiotic you drink before drinking alcohol to avoid that rough next morning and get back to living your life. PhD scientists invented it because they know the real problem is not dehydration. It's a toxic byproduct of alcohol, and ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the only product that breaks it down. Just remember to drink responsibly and plenty of rest too. Every time I have ZBiotics before drinking, I'm amazed at how good I feel the next day. ZBiotics is a must-have for me because it means I'm still going to make my daily workout even if I have a few drinks the night before. That's important to me. You can get ZBiotics for 15% off your first order using my code MSCS Media at checkout. I recommend getting the 6-pack. That's what I got. It's a great deal. You have a couple extra to share with friends. Go to zbiotics.com/MSCS Media. That's Z as in zebra, biotics, BIOTICS.com/MSCS Media, or scan the QR code on the screen right now and get 15% off your first order. You will not be sorry. Link is in the description below. They look at you and look at your past, realize that in the beginning, you weren't just basing your whole entire life on modeling. You were doing IT, all kinds of stuff, and modeling. Whereas you see a lot of people now, that's all they do, and then they depend on that, and then say it doesn't work out. The next thing you know, drugs, addiction, or you're doing whatever crazy stuff, to get ahead. So that's an important thing that you mentioned. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket, right? Like if you like modeling, do it, but have other things going on to also mature you.
Like your job cannot be your identity, with anything. Like even I have an ex that all he does is constantly work when he doesn't have anything to talk about that if it's not work, and people lose touch of that. Like your job is your livelihood and what you do. But I think the whole purpose of life is to really get a good sense of yourself and in this world, and like why are we here? I've been very spiritual, and I'm always reading, and I'm always learning, and I'm always growing, and I don't even think the same way I did last year. Like I'm constantly always evolving and and trying to be the best version of myself. You know, comparison is the thief of all happiness for anyone. And I think that that's what's wrong with the young kids right now, is that they're just comparing themselves to, oh well, this person did this and this person did that, you know, and that's where all the troubles, you know, lead. And I think that if you do something from like knowing yourself, you know, like you have to really love yourself, and it has nothing to do with a job, you know, or a career or anything. It's just like your person. I think you know, young kids that are listening to this, having that sense of self and not have and know who you are in the core of your being, you know.
Yeah, take some time off TikTok, right? These kids, I mean, you can't get them all of it. Because you know what you see on there, first off, if you do want to be a model, you're trying to look like somebody, that like it's what do you call those things? The filters, you know, it's filters and this and that. Like it's not back like when we grew up. There was no filters where you could change everything and look like a gazillion dollars with one click. You know, either you were or you weren't. And now, you know, I see guys and girls, they're looking at these people and I'm like, do you really think that's how they look? Do you really? Oh no, they're brainwashed, like really brainwashed.
Yeah, it's epidemic. It's something that is unfortunate, you know, because if they're not seeing themselves through that filter lens, then they're just not happy with themselves. And that's where I go back. Like you have to understand that like your physical vessel that you're using to navigate through this world is just that. And it doesn't define you or where you're going to be or what you're going to do on the core of your being, you know?
Yeah, no, that's really good. And then how does the call happen? Because the FHM thing, that was a big turning point. How does that happen? I always wonder how these things happen. You know, do they call you? How do they find you? Are you going up against, you know, 1,000 other women? Like how does that initially happen the first time? And then she's
okay, I don't know how it normally happens for people, but I know I'm going to explain to you how it happened for me, you know, because it was kind of one of those fluke things. And just like I'm a Pisces, right? So I'm very intuitive. And like when I was 8 years old and I knew that I was going to be famous, and I just didn't know how it was going to materialize. So we're going now back to 2002 when the issue came out, December 2002. And one of my friends, which was an ex-boyfriend's friend who became my friend, his name is Joe. And we were at his house and he had like Maxim, FHM stuff, you know, all those magazines. And people used to always like tell me, you know, like, oh, you should model, whatever. So here we are in his living room and having this conversation. He's like, you should submit your photos to the magazine. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, I didn't even know like how to do it or whatever. And then he's like, yeah, we'll send the information to the editor or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then a week goes by and he's like, did you send it? And I was like, no, I didn't, you know, because I was just like, yeah, okay, but not actually doing it. And then he's like, just send me the pictures. I'll send it to them. And I'm like, all right. So he sends it to FHM. And now 6 months go by. He sent it in March of 2000. I mean, wait, like what year are we? 2002. And I get a call in September. It was September 9th. Was it September 9th? No, it was, I don't even know the date, but it was the day a year after the whole thing happened with the 9/11 thing. Because I remember when I got the call and then the photo shoot was going to be in New York City, I was like freaking out because it was that 1 year anniversary of you know what had happened. And but anyways, I get a call, and at first, oh, okay, so that day I woke up in the morning, and I had the night before I had cooked pasta for like the week. I used to make the sauce and everything. I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was writing out bills. Back in the days how we used to get the bills with all the extra junk that they put in there.
Yeah.
So apparently I had $800 cash that I had taken out to go for the first time to Vegas for Labor Day weekend. And I had, how in the bank it gives you like the little envelopes. I had my money in there, and I had like a rebate check because I had a condominium, and then I had another check from work. And accidentally I threw everything out.
Oh.
And so
Deadly.
the next morning, I remember the next morning, it was the 9th of September, because it was my ex-boyfriend's birthday. And I go walk my dogs outside, and I used to have this high-rise condominium in Jersey by the water across from Staten Island. And I'm walking my dogs, and my dogs are going to the bathroom, and I'm just staring at the garbage truck picking up the garbage, right? So intuitively, I was like, my attention was there, not realizing that my money was being thrown in the garbage, So I'm like just staring at it, and then like I'm like, why am I looking at this garbage? Like I'm watching it get picked up and everything. I go back in the house, and I'm telling my, once we're getting ready to go, because I was doing mortgages, and I had to drive 1 hour to Hackensack, New Jersey to go to work. And I'm like telling my ex, I'm like, where is that stuff? I'm like screaming like a crazy woman. I'm like, it was right here. And then at that moment, everything just clicked. I was like, oh, no wonder I was looking at the garbage. I threw it out the day before with the garbage. So I like run to the garbage can, and then, they have the telephone number of the garbage. And I go and I call them up, and I'm like, hey, I dropped a family engagement ring, because I knew if I said money, it was not gonna happen.
Yeah, you're asking him to go dumpster dive for you, basically.
Yeah, and then and I'm like crying, and then he's like, listen, lady, it's like a needle in a haystack, and I'm like so determined. I was like, can I go, please? I'll go through the garbage, I'm like, I will go. So it was like 20 minutes away, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna find this garbage, because I'm like, I have a white bag with red sauce all over it. I'm like,
yeah, that narrows it down.
Good.
That narrows it down.
Oh my God, what was I thinking? But I love my determination, which probably then, how the rest of the day manifested for me. It's kind of interesting. But I was so distraught. So the guy brought us in like an excursion truck, Ford excursion, I think that's what it's called. And we're like literally going over freaking garbage. And I'm like, oh my God, like the guy's right. Like there's no way, like, because it gets crushed. I saw the whole process, and I was just felt so defeated. And I came back, and then I didn't go into work that day. And then I get a random call on my phone, and it's a 917 number, which is like a New York number. And I pick it up, and I'm like, hello. And then it's some guy named Zach. Hi, this is Zach from FHM. We got your photos in, and we're doing a photo shoot tomorrow in New York City. Wanted to see if you would be interested. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll call you back. And I was so mad, because I thought someone was pranking me, because, the photos were submitted like 6 months ago. And this guy, he's calling me from FHM, but it's a cell phone number. The guy was actually moving too. So he's like moving around. Like it just didn't sound legit,
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm like yelling at my ex. I'm like, this is a bad day that I'm having, and this is not even funny. Whoever's like, pranking me, that this is not the day to do it. And then he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, this guy called me for FHM." He's like, "Call him back. This is the opportunity you always wanted, right? You always say you're going to be a model in magazines, so do it." And I'm like, "But I just lost $800, because I was able to get back the checks. But I'm like, I just lost $800." And he like not forced me, but he like convinced me to call him. And I called him back, and sure enough, it was legit, and the next day I did the photo shoot, and it was like 5 girls in the photo shoot, and they weren't like, they were kind of just like, whatever to me, and then my ex was like, he's very superstitious, so he's like, "Don't tell anyone, because it takes like 3 months for the issue to come out." So he's like, "Don't say anything, because sometimes when people say things, people can, give you the evil eye or whatever for it not to happen." So I didn't tell anyone. And I was in November, towards the end of November. So the people that have subscription to the magazines, they get their issue like 15 days earlier than the month issue, whatever it is. So I was driving to work. I was the passenger, and I was just like laying down, and my brother calls me, and my brother's like, "Hey, are you in a magazine?" And I was like, "Wait, what? Did it come out?" And he's like, "What do you mean, did it come out? Are you in a magazine?" Because at first it was me with 5 other girls, and it just said my name. It just said Vida. It didn't say my full name. And so, yeah, it was a exciting time. And, I still did the mortgages for like a year. And then that's the only job I got fired from. And it was only because I used to be like the underwriter. I used to be the closer. So whenever someone was out, I can do anybody's job. And my boss was like, you're going to thank me later on in life. And I'm like, oh, I was so distraught, because the modeling, yeah, all of a sudden I'm like famous, whatever, but it wasn't like really producing, money. So I'm like, like, what? And I like freaked out, but it started picking up. And yeah, and kind of like I was a pioneer, like what I did. So like all these young girls are like making so much money and like, like whatever, but like
a ton.
And I was at that time, it was like all new, so I wasn't really making all that much money. So I was like, here I am, like super famous, and just making money, that not like, because when you're famous, then you have to get like security. There's different things that you need the money to be able to like function in society. It was kind of like a difficult time, but yeah, that's
I bet your ex wishes he would have wrote up a little contract on that one there, right? Because what was to come, he's probably like, shit, I should have wrote something down. I should have wrote something down and made her sign. And then the issue comes out, and what, 1/3 of the readers or the people that want it, they want more pictures of you. So you go in there basically blinded. They're like, "Hey, come in tomorrow. You're cooking pasta, you're dumpster diving." And next thing you know, they're like, "Come in tomorrow." You go in, nobody knows. It comes out, your brother's like, "Hey, sis, are you on a magazine?" And then it comes out, regular. And 1/3 of everybody was writing them, demanding more pictures of you.
I know, it's crazy. And the pose was like, everyone was facing forward, and I was facing like sideways. And it wasn't even a pose that I did. It was the creative director. I walked by. He was, I don't know if he's still alive, but he's gay, right? And he's like, oh my God, he was like obsessed with he called it a bum. He's like, oh my God, you're a bum. And then he's like, you gotta pose like this. And he's the one that, because it probably would have been different if I was like same way as like the rest of the girls, you know.
And then
But they kind of like,
and then in '04 you won FHM Model of the Year. I mean that happened. This all happened like quick.
yeah. So FHM, like I think a week after the issues came out, they called me and they're like, oh, we need you back in we have to do a photo shoot with just yourself. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, and their system was crashing because people kept searching my name in their website. And websites have evolved, but back then in 2002 it was different. So like in websites in the bottom they'll have like contact us, like little things like that. Well, they had one specific, it said my name, Vida Guerra.
Wow.
So people could click that and then all the stuff comes up. So I had my own little section in FHM. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then once that happened, where did that lead to next? Like, what was the next? Now you're Model of the Year on there. They're calling you back. What was the next thing that happened? Like, I know you got into television and music videos, but what happened right after that? Because now you're all over the place. You're crashing their system.
Yeah. So I'm getting calls, for different, things. I did a lot of like other like urban magazines. I was doing like a bunch of photo shoots, and then I opened up my website. Then I opened up like a membership section on my website.
Smart.
Yeah, and so now you have Instagram that they have the pictures, but at that time, and then I had like 21 items that I was selling with like my image in it. And then I got a call from the Playboy, and I did Playboy. I was in the cover of June 2006. So Playboy, I did it in 2005, and then the issue came out in 2006. And yeah, so it was just like, I mean, I really did not have a blueprint, because no one did what I was doing back then. So it was kind of like, just
there wasn't really anybody to follow. There wasn't really anyone at that time to follow, to see how they did it and so on, right?
Exactly. So it was kind of like the whole time I was like winging everything, really. And I didn't have a good team. And I think that's is very important when you're having a business, to have a good team, because it does take a team, to make it work. Just like you and your podcast, you have a bunch of people that are working to make it happen. And I think, like if everyone has the same vision, then it's great. But if you don't, then, it's a little challenging.
Yeah. If you get around those people that they'll sit with you for 3-4 years, and the whole time they're just waiting, to get the envy and jealousy, or they get a girlfriend or a boyfriend and they say, why does Vida have this? Or why does Tommy have that? Well, maybe Vida has that because she's all over the place 24 hours a day. You're just, forwarding emails that are real or something. It happens all the time. I've had those problems with other businesses, but this one, this one's been good. I keep good people around me and everything else. So, I mean, that's an important thing too. Now, when you decided to take the Playboy thing, prior to that, your phone got hacked, right?
Yes.
I always wonder how you people get your phones hacked.
I know. So I had Sprint, which I was just telling one of my friends the story this past weekend. It's so funny. So Sprint had where you would take a picture in your phone, and then it would have a cloud that the pictures would get stored in, whether you deleted it or not. So I was, one of the things of when I became famous, I was getting phone calls with random people like, is this Vida Guerra? So I would literally have to change my telephone number every single month. So I don't know if there was somebody in Sprint that was giving my number out or whatever, but that's all I know.
Really,
of
even
what
now, that's all you really know. Wow. And then because
yeah.
of what came out
So
of that, was it a big part of your decision with Playboy because they were sending pictures around and everything else? You wanted to go in and say, look, this is the real me. Whatever this is the real me. And how did that
yeah.
Playboy process work? And how did your dad feel about that one?
Oh yeah. He wasn't too happy about it. He wasn't happy, but then he realized that I was like, I had made a career, and I'm like, Dad, you know who like I am, you know who I am as a person, and this is just art, and uh, art is people can interpret art whichever way they are, but
Sure.
that's has nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Um, like anytime that I've done those sexy pictures, I'm just being myself because I'm in my divine feminine energy, and I'm not in none of my pictures am I thinking about sex, or like I'm gonna do this for that or that. And I think that's why I had been successful, because I was just being myself, you know.
Yeah, that's important. So you weren't doing
And
them
I have
thinking like this
my
guy.
sexual
Yeah.
energies.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry.
You go ahead.
My sexual energy is like very strong. I could be in the crappiest thing, but it's just like an energy. It's not even a look. It's not nothing. It's just an energy, and it has nothing to do with sex.
Yeah. Almost like an
It's
aura.
just creation.
Almost like an aura.
Yeah, it's interesting
I
to say the
remember.
least.
I remember even now, like I'll be with a girl or my fiance now, and she's like, Tommy, this is not a good idea. What do you know? What do you know? And like, you women have these things where like you have a sixth sense, where us idiots are like, what do you know? And then you go, and then this guy you're hanging out with is no good. And then the next thing you know, boom. And then I have to hear about it for a year about how I was wrong and everything else. So you do the Playboy. How was Hugh and that whole thing? And one of the stigmas I've noticed from talking to people, that they act like you can't get out of it. They act like if you do Playboy, like you're stuck there at the mansion, you're stuck in Hugh's bed, you know what I mean? All this crazy shit. What was that experience like? Just to clear the thing.
Okay, so for me, again, it's different because I wasn't a playmate. I wasn't a playmate. It was a celebrity pictorial that they asked if I would do the shoe. So I did not have any contact with Hugh Hefner. It was literally, I had my lawyer, had a contract, went and did the photo shoot, met with the creative director. If you see all my Playboy shoots, it's not too much like background. They wanted me to be like the main focus, and it's mostly like just black background. And I would say, okay, I'm okay with this, but I'm not okay with that. And I was able, I wasn't showing anything. I didn't have legs spread open. Just I think the woman's body is beautiful, and it's art to me. And if you do something in a tasteful way with the intention of just, just to be, it's different. So, but I did meet Hugh Hefner in like one of the parties that they had, like the Halloween party. When I met him, he had like an oxygen tank, like a thing in his nose for oxygen and stuff. I don't even know what year he passed away, but yeah, he wasn't doing too well. So I don't know, like those girls that live with him, and you do hear those stories. It's crazy, but I didn't experience that.
Yeah, and then this episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water, it's Fiji water.
This episode is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shave your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code MSCS Media for 20% off and free shipping. No one likes a weird beard, so say goodbye to all the stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a monster of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. No more messing around in drawers, this color one, that color one, all with one guard. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower and avoid all that hair in the sink. The Pro Kit doesn't end there, though. First, there's the beard shampoo and conditioner. You need to remember your hair is different. Next, Manscaped's beard oil. Cap it off with beard balm. The Pro Kit also comes with 3 different gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code MSCS Media at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code MSCS Media. Manscaped Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. Link is in the description below. Get in to a little bit of TV and you do a Spanish TV show. And like I was telling you about before, when my barber comes over, he puts on those shows and boy, do they go at it. And what was the show called you were doing? It was like...
El gordo y la flaca.
Yeah.
Which means the fat guy and the skinny girl.
The fat guy and the skinny girl. Nah,
Yeah.
That had to be fun.
That's how you translate it.
Yeah, that'd be... When I saw that, I said... I wonder if that's what this guy's still watching when he comes over. Because, I mean, fuck, they go at it. They go back and forth. So, you know, what a transition that is, right? Because you're modeling, and now you're in TV, you know, with this little guy, fat guy thing. You know, how was that?
Well, it was definitely a transition, and of course I was like very green at first, you know, because it's just everything is just new, right? And how I didn't have the experience or knowledge to be in that situation. But you know, as I kept growing as a brand, you know, all these amazing opportunities kept coming to me, and like I said, I just winged it. I couldn't be anyone but myself, and hope that translated to people, you know, loving my art, you know.
And then you got into music videos with P. Diddy, Nelly, all. How did that? I keep saying, how did that come about? But there's so many different things you did, you know. How does that stuff come about? Because now and at that time, you know, Diddy and Nelly, and you know, you got with Kanye, they're at the top, and here you are in the video and everything else.
Yeah, well, we all kind of like started at around the same time. You know, everyone was just starting to pop. When I did the music videos, I didn't do that many, but for some reason people think I did a lot. I've done like 5 or 6 music videos. And the reasoning behind that is because, like I was telling you, I was green, you know, and so I was talking to someone and I wanted to, you know, do acting. So they said, well, you know, do a music video because it's a form of acting. You have to follow the directions of the director to tell you what to do. And, you know, then you have experience being in front of the camera, you know, how the camera picks you and reads you, and it just all that experience. So every time that I was on set, I was just like picking the director's brain, because I would love to direct one day, and not music videos, you know, movies and shows, but I'm just so fascinated about the whole concept of, you know, creation and creating something, and then, you know, having people see it and people be affected by it, you know, emotionally invested into it. And it's just beautiful. But that's how I got into the music videos, was just to get the experience. It's easier to make mistakes when you're doing a music video than opposed to being on set and filming a TV show or movie,
Yeah, and then you did a skit with Chappelle, right?
Oh my God, yeah, that was so much fun. It was actually on my birthday.
Oh, on your
And
birthday? That's cool.
yeah, it was so crazy because I was doing that skit from the day before all the way till like, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then drove from New York back to Jersey, took a shower, got dressed, and went to work doing the mortgages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was very interesting. And, Dave Chappelle is hilarious. And he, super cool guy, met his wife too, very family guy. And, it was fun. And they would call me a lot. I did another skit for them. It was called the 3 Days, but it wasn't, the R. Kelly one was just like, I think it's an iconic top 10 TV moments or something. I think MTV did a thing about it. It's just one of those, it was like a perfect little storm. And I could have continued working more with them, but I was still working, my regular job. And yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, well, R. Kelly getting 100 years didn't hurt. Being in the top 10. Were you surprised that Chappelle had walked away? At first, I was surprised, and then when he came back and explained it, I thought it was admirable in a sense because, he needed. It sounded like he just needed more self time. Because they offered him a boatload of money. I mean, a fucking boatload of money, and he turned it down.
Yeah. See, because you know what? In life, nothing equates to inner peace. And I think that's something that we all strive for, right? And when you start to lose sense of self, and it's time to go inward to see what is really, happening. And, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like most people wouldn't do that. And for him to do that, it speaks volumes. And look, he's very successful right now. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we need to press the pause button and take care of our inner in order to be of service in our outer.
Now, talk to me about National Lampoon. Everybody's seen that.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. I had such a great time doing that. At that time, I think I shot that in 2004. I was still living in New Jersey. And it was the Hillenbrand brothers. They were the directors of it, and they reached out to me. And I got to play a virgin. And it was fun, It was college at sea, and she had a boyfriend, and she was talking about like if she was gonna have sex with him and stuff like that. So it was cool. And they had contacted me about to do the third sequel, and they were gonna go shoot it in Romania. But the script was gonna be centered around my character. But I didn't do it because I was gonna be in Romania for like almost 2 months, and it was just like I had so many other things going on that it didn't work out. And the money that they were paying it wasn't worth it to give up all the other things that I was doing. So I didn't do it.
Now, when you get into a film like that and you see what the director's doing, because you were watching the director in the music videos, and now you're watching him in a movie like National, that's a big time movie. What fascinates me is how these directors have all this in their head, and then the editor. I don't know how the editors don't jump off a building.
Yeah.
How long?
I tell you, it's a whole team that everybody has to have the same vision in order for it to like run smoothly,
Yeah, I think Scott will think this is funny.
But sometimes directors are like editors as well. Or like one of my good friends, he's a director, and he sits with the editors because, like you said, the director has a vision for it, and then the editor does not know what the vision is, and he's kind of like just putting it together. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Can you relate to all that with all those years of, just, yeah.
Editing, I basically was a producer editor. So yeah, it's tough. Sometimes they'll explain to you what they want, and then they'll leave you to it. You go do it, and you have a creative process as well as they do. So then you work together, and then you finally get the final product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some directors are really cool that they'll be like, oh yeah, just see what you come up with, and then they tweak it, but some they want to have all hands on it, and it just depends. But it's always good. I mean, at the end of the day, is creating something out of nothing.
Yeah, really. And then, you laugh. And then you got into the lowriders. You did the lowriders, right? The TV show.
So I had a
and she was going to get one.
Living the Low Life. Yeah. I know, it's so crazy because we had 2 seasons of it. It was the number 2 show on the network. The first show was called Pinks, which is, people would race for your pink papers, to own the vehicle. And by season 2, by like episode 8, they were already running out of shows because the lowrider community is not that big. And we had talked to everyone. So I was just in my creative, flow. And I'm like, I think that we should, now that we showed everyone like where you go get, your car, like if you need rims, if you're trying to do interior, I think that we should take someone through the steps of like me finding a car and then getting it from the junk or getting from somebody's backyard, whatever. And then, taking it to get painted, like doing the whole process just so someone could see the whole process. And I thought it was genius, but they did it. So yeah, the show only had two seasons of it. It was successful, but it wasn't, I guess they weren't open to like different things,
I agree with you because and especially back then, that was a huge thing.
It happens a lot because I would do something that I thought was so good, and then you put it to the people in charge, and they go, "Nah, that sucks." And you go, "What?"
Yeah. I just spent my week on this.
Yeah, really. And then they blow you off, and they go, "No, next project."
See, I thought, especially at that time, I thought that show was cool because everybody was lowering their car, buying rims, or trying to get a car and then fix it up and put stickers on their car. I remember my friends would get. At that time, they would get stickers that said like Volkswagen or Mercedes, and it was a Honda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, and then they would lower the car, and then every other week they'd have a flat tire. Remember when all that time period? I mean, it was just funny. It's just so cool to talk to, and like all these different things, so fast. And then, like now you have your, we have it up, you have your wellness line. What got you into that? Because now, you look around, I don't trust anything. I've talked to too many people where I don't know, I think I'm scarred in my head now because, I mean, doctors, researchers that are way, way smarter than me. And, when you start digging, like vitamins, whatever, you see Walmart, they'll wipe the shelf and say, hey, look, we did these testings and there's no vitamin D in there. There's no vitamin C in there. They get fined $2 billion, which is like a penny to them. And then a week later, they're back on the shelves. What got you into the wellness? And your site's pretty cool because when you go to it, you got every freaking language on the planet in there to go into it.
Mm-hmm. So these products, I started using them about 6 months ago, and so many people were having these amazing results. Because before, like, I used to just go on Amazon and buy some vitamins and stuff, and they started doing the testing and realized that there was not what it was in there. So one of my friends, okay, so basically, let me pause on that, and let me
Sure.
just take it back a little bit to give you a little hindsight of what has been going on in the last 10 years of my life. So in 2011, I started competing in fitness competitions. I became an athlete, fitness pro in the bodybuilding world. I became an IFBB pro, they call it.
Wow.
And right at that time, I had exchanged my breast implants that I had done back in 2000. You know, they say to get them done every 10 years. So this was 11 years. And I had saline breast implants before, and then I switched them over to the silicone one, the gummy, whatever. And immediately after, I started to get sick, but I didn't know that it was relating to the breast implants. So I started to, 6 months after I got the implants, I started to get rashes all over my body. And I even got a rash 2 weeks before my competition that I became a pro. And I had like these, it almost looks like eczema kind of raising of the skin. It was just really bad. And in the competition world, you know how everyone gets, they spray tan you like really, really dark, because you can see more of your muscle definition with the lighting and stuff. And so when that happened, I didn't know. I thought it was like some food related kind of thing. And it really took me on a journey of wellness and, taking my health into my own hands. I started not feeling well. I started to have a lot of issues. And it wasn't until 2021 that my friend, she was getting her breast implants taken out. And she's like, "Oh, do you know about breast implant illness?" And I'm like, "No." And then I started doing research, and I'm like, "What? I got all these things, all the symptoms is crazy." And then last year in April, which is coming a year, I had my breast implants taken out. And now I'm back to my normal, just my normal breast, my normal, body. And
he's clapping over here.
Yes, you should be only normal.
With 20, after 2020, right? We realized how important our health is, And so I started doing a lot of research, and one of my good friends, I used to, when I used to do mortgages, he used to do real estate. He's a couple years older than me. He's Filipino, and Filipinos, they eat a lot of oils, like the different oils, whatever. So they told him that he had to get open heart surgery. So he had gotten COVID, and after COVID, like a few months later, he started to have like a lot of chest pains and stuff. So he went to the doctors, and they told him he had like a bunch of arteries that were clogged. And so they told him, he had to do open heart surgery. And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty intense, like it's pretty hard. Is there any way that you could do other things, to clean that up?" Like I was talking to him about fasting and different things. And they went to do a stent, put a stent, but they said that it was just too clogged and they couldn't do that. So then I was like telling him, "Well, research other things." And then he had done research and something, it's like a shock treatment. I don't even know the wording, so don't quote me on that. All I know is that he did that. It was an alternative to getting the open heart surgery, but also then changing the way he eats, making sure that he's exercising and doing all these things. And so one of his friends was telling him about these supplements, and she was on him for the last 3 years, but he's very skeptical and he doesn't believe anything or whatever. So he didn't bother with it. And so it, like most people, when you have no other, when you're up against the corner, you start like, okay, let me be open to this or that. So I saw how he started improving, on these products. And they have the one staple product, which is called Protandim. It reduces, clinically proven to reduce the oxidative stress by 40% in the first month. And so there's this whole ABC segment, like a news segment. The anchor, I forgot his name. He looks great now. But what it does is it takes you, like if you take the product for every decades that you've lived, right? It's supposed to take you back into like your state when you were, a child. Rejuvenate you from the inside out. And we can't say that it treats things, right?
Yeah, right.
We can't say whatever. But there's stories, right? There's a woman that her husband had cancer and he didn't want to do chemotherapy again. His cancer had come back and they gave him 6 months to live. She decided to take the Protandim and give him 6 a day, which is only 1. And, at that point, I think, if you have 6 months to live, you're like, give me the whole bang. Give me the whole shebang. Yeah. And he, not only did he recover, it never came back. And, they're like successful in the business because, that's his story. And so he was having all these amazing things. And, it's so many different things that it does. It's truly remarkable. And so I saw the change that my friend did, and I said, you know what, I'm open to this. I'm in the healing journey right myself. After removing the implants, I have to detox my body and get my body, because whatever is going on inside is going to be outside. And yeah, I started to take NAD. I was watching this podcast, and this guy was talking about how people that look ridiculously young for their age, there's all one common thing, and it's the NAD. So I've been doing the NAD and then the collagen, and
I've been down the rabbit hole. I've been down the rabbit hole with the NAD. I just saw it up there. That's why I keep looking. Palladium NAD. I went down the rabbit hole. I flew people in to talk to them about it. I looked on PubMed. I don't think you can deny that one. And then you look at Sylvester Stallone, right? The guy's 78, and he's still throwing. He did Avengers at 71, 72, broke his neck, and he's still doing Tuscan King.
Yeah, Tulsa King. It's a great show.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's only. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. AD. Now, real quick, on your breast, what was it? Was it leaking? Was the silicone leaking? Like, what was it that made you sick? Because I know a lot of women are going to want to know that. Like, what made you sick? What happened when you changed them? Yeah.
So every case is different. A lot of people end up getting like thyroids, but thank God I didn't, because I've been constantly, because I felt like crap for the last 10 years. I've been constantly like fasting, like, I was always on top of my health. And for me, in when I got the implants, the second set of implants in December 2011, and
Wow.
it's September of 2013, I had to have my right breast implant replaced because my boob created this scar tissue, and the boob became really, really hard. So it, like, your body, with every breast implants, it creates this scar tissue around it because it's the body's way of protecting you. They sell it to you like, if you have the silicone, if it rips open, it doesn't come out, whatever. But so many women are like, all their symptoms go away after they get the implants removed, and it's a matter of cleaning out your body and staying on top of it. Like, I feel amazing now. Like, everything is gone.
Had you gotten blood tests done? Had you gotten blood tests done or anything to see, like, was your blood elevated or it didn't show up in the blood?
So yeah, my blood levels were really low. I was very anemic.
Iron.
Yeah. So what happened was, I tell you, the last 10 years has been rough. In 2014, I ended up waking up one day in June, first week of June, and I was going on a flight to San Antonio. I was doing 2 bookings, and I was going to a wedding with my ex. And I wake up, our flight was like leaving at like 9:30 or something, and I wake up in the morning at 4 in the morning, and I'm in the floor like crying in pain. And I didn't know what was going on, and it wasn't my period because I had just had my period, and I was like, it was like cramps on steroids. It was just, the pain was just excruciating. So I ended up just popping like a Tylenol or Advil or Motrin, whatever I took. And I, got ready and went to the airport. And as soon as we start to take off, I'm in so much pain that I'm like shaking. A guy turns around. He's like, "Oh, we're going to be okay." He thinks I'm freaking out because
like anxiety.
We're taking off. But I'm like, dude, like, you have no idea. Like, the pain was just so bad. And all of a sudden it was like, I felt like this like warm thing. I looked down. I started hemorrhaging blood all over the place.
Holy shit.
So when we land in San Antonio, I get rushed to the hospital. The doctor says you have fibroids in your uterus and you need to remove your uterus now. And I'm like, I had just turned 40 years old. And I'm like, there's no way I am going to remove my uterus.
This is why I don't go to the doctor. This is why I don't go. Remove your uterus,
It's the biggest
scam.
What do you call that? It's the biggest scam, and it's the center of a woman's creation. Think about it. And it's just something that I didn't want to do. So they gave me a shot to like slow down the bleeding, which it did for like 2 weeks. And then I was just hemorrhaging. And I got to a point that I had just moved to Florida for like a month and a half. I was in Plantation, Florida. And I was fainting a lot. And at this point, I'm like just hemorrhaging every day. Wow. I hemorrhaged for 131 days.
You're a strong woman, girl. You're a strong woman.
To that.
You might be able to beat up Mike Tyson.
my hemoglobin dropped down to 6.2, which is like you can die. Yeah. So I had to get a blood transfusion, thank God. And then after that, I had to have 3 surgeries to try to remove the fibroids that were in my uterus that was causing the bleeding. So that was like my first health. Like I'm telling you, like it was just like one thing after the other, and it's just like I felt like crap all the time. And
Tired,
now I
not
feel
hungry.
super amazing.
Was your I'm just like
Yeah, I
with the
was.
breast thing, I'm trying to figure out. So your iron was low. Was your appetite shot? You didn't feel good because in your blood that's all that really showed that was off was the iron.
No, it was no, like my vitamin D was like really low. Meanwhile, I'm always in the sun. It was just a lot of different things that were
Yeah.
not functioning correctly, and we knew that something was going on. Yeah, they even like were like, you're almost a pre-diabetic. Like
Oh
it just
Christ.
all my levels were crap. It was just the worst time for me. Let me tell you, my 40s, that's why this year when I turn 49, I'm like, let my 50s be better than my 40s, because let me just tell you, I suffered. So like anyone who's thinking of getting breast implants, don't get breast implants, because the doctors will tell you there's nothing wrong, and these women, it's all in their heads, whatever.
Yeah.
But you cannot deny that the minute that they take them out, they start to get better. I had like joint pains. I was very fatigued all the time. I didn't want to do anything, because ultimately your health is your greatest wealth, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, look at Steve Jobs. He was a billionaire, had this amazing company, and then his health was crap. So nothing is important. That is the most important thing.
And women that I'm sorry, women that did get them done, like say 10 years ago, however many, what's the signs they should look for that there's a problem, so that they're not going through weeks, months, however long you waited till you realized, okay, this is it, because this doctor's trying to put you on diabetic medicine, this guy's trying to take your uterus out, this guy's trying to take your arm off. You know what I mean? It's like nuts.
Yeah.
So what would you say,
Yeah,
being
so-
through what to look for early and not listen to the weirdos?
Yeah, so it's interesting you said the arm, because I did a cartwheel in February 2021, and all of a sudden I couldn't lift my arm up. And I spent so much money on therapy, whatever. It was all from the breast. The minute I took the breast implants off, I was able to lift my arm. Before, I wasn't able to lift my arm.
What a racket.
So yeah, I'm trying to think of all the bad things that it had. It gives you heart palpitations, night sweats. Like I would be drenched in sweat at night. Weight gain. So from 2019 to like last year, I had gained the most amount of weight that I've ever weighed in my life, which was not normal, because I've always been very fit, even if I didn't work out, so like I knew something was going on with my body, because my body wasn't just the same. And at first I was like, it's just because I'm getting older, this is what happens to our body. But the more I dug, and the more I went within myself, was like remove them. In 2021, in December, I decided to do this thing called the dry fast, which is not eating and not drinking for you can do it for 5 days or 7 days. I did it for 6.5 days. So I didn't have nothing to drink for all those days. The 6.5 days, I didn't have anything to eat, and I was mostly in a state of meditation most of the day. And so I did it from Christmas to New Year's Eve. And I really sat with myself, and it was like, remove the toxic bags. And it's so crazy, because I've done a lot of like spiritual work as well, and it's always been like, you have a blockage in your heart chakra. And I'm like how much more work do I need to do in my heart chakra? Like, why is this not working? And now it makes sense. If there's a toxic bag that is in that area, like how is that? It's just crazy.
It's amazing. You know, you have your story with your breast. Then they're about ready to open up this guy and do open heart surgery. And it's, to me, they know that. They can't possibly not know, but they're getting kick-ups from this, or Big Pharma comes in and says, look, you have to do this, or we're not going to give you this, or the aboves, the people above. How can a doctor at that level not know, hey, if you take, I'm just using this as an example, if you go to vidaactivated.lifeadvantage.com and get the NAD and get the NRF2 and this and that, we don't have to cut you open and, you might die. Like, as if they don't know that, or they don't want to know it, one of the two. And now that you have this, your mind has to be blown, because you're seeing the stories in real time. It happened to you. What do you think is up with these doctors? Like, literally, like, ready to open up a guy for heart surgery? Like, really? Open heart surgery when it wasn't needed?
When there's other alternatives.
Yeah.
What the thing is too, I mean, most people, some people, they want a quick fix, right? Yeah. So a quick fix, they would think, okay, well, let me have just surgery and then I'm going to continue to do my lifestyle. And, there's no magic pill, right? If you're going to continue your life the way you have been, that led you to where you are, if you're going to continue to do those things, then there's no supplement, there's no fasting, there's nothing that you could do to change that. But if you're like, okay, well, my health it's in my hands, and let me do all the proper steps that I can do to help my body, because your body will heal itself, but you have to help it. You have to assist it. If you don't, then, it only gets harder every year,
And then
I don't know about you, but I don't want to be old and like in a nursing home, like somebody taking me, like I'd rather just die. Like, I always say, I don't know if they have this, but like when a dog is just not feeling good anymore and it's just not eating, you take it, they put them to sleep. Like, they should do that for adults as well. If you're just like, you're not well, you're not having a quality of life, then they should, if a person consents to that, be able to do something like that as well. Because, like, the people that like get dementia, studies are now coming up that it's all like going on in your gut, like what you have going on in your gut, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, that will dictate that. So, like, people that are young, like, start taking control of your health now. And I mean, I'm not into doctors. I like more holistic doctors than anything, because they get to the root cause of the problem.
Well, I mean, just look at shaman, right? They've been eating mushrooms for 10,000 years. And these guys live to, well, we don't know their age, but they look like they're 40. And then you find, like, we talked to Graham Hancock, and, he went down and did the whole thing. And these shaman, man, they look like they're 40 and they're 110, and they're eating, but they're in touch with self. They're eating the mushrooms. And now finally they're looking into the mushrooms, of all the study it does for addiction, longevity, also helping out with the Alzheimer's and everything else, modafinil, NAD. Now, I'm on your side again. What has been your results and your thoughts with the NAD? Like, you have the NAD synergizer. Now,
yes.
And like I said, I'm big with the NAD. I think that's the way to go if you want to stay young and look young and repair your DNA and everything else. I mean, Harvard did a massive study on it, and it's undeniable. So when somebody goes to your site and they get that, what results have you seen from that? And then, if you could, for me, compare that to the NRF2 that you have and the NRF1.
So I do the tri-synergizer, which is the protandim the NFR1 and NFR2 with the NAD, and they all work synergistically together to give you results. I was like, every time, if I'm sitting for a long period of time, when I would get up, it was almost like an old person. Like some people, like my friends would be like, man, Vida, I just been in so much pain and all these years. And they're like, you look so young for your age, but like you feel like an 80-year-old, because I'm like, I don't want to do anything, whatever. So I really have noticed the quality of my life change, where now I'm back at the gym, after taking all these years off. I'm back at the gym, I'm working out. I don't have I could be sitting for a long period of time and get up and out. I can feel like I'm in my 20s again, not feel like I'm like 80 years old when I'm like getting up, like all stiff, and the pains in the joints were just like too much. So my digestion with the NFR one, it works with your mitochondria, which is your immune system. And so that works amazing. And then the NAD is just, they all work together and they produce the results that I'm getting now, that I feel great. Like before I felt like an 80-year-old, and now I feel like a 20-year-old.
Yeah. And you have,
and I'm a 49.
You mean 29. And you have intelligent aging, essential nutrients, digestive health, immune health, daily support, pet, focus and brain, weight management, protein, collagen, hair. Everybody wants the hair. When you go and you look for a multivitamin, like we were talking about before, you go to Amazon, you think because it's got 20,000 reviews that it's right, as if a robot can't go on there and put 20,000 reviews. How do you guys go about your products here where, when somebody goes here and gets it, it's actually what's in the container?
Well, they've done a lot of, even in PubMed, if you go into PubMed, you'll see there's 33 peer reviews on the Protandim, how Beautiful. Amazing it is.
Congratulations. Holy shit. That definitely means it's real.
So you know what the difference is with this company, right? Where you can become your own organization, right? Where I signed up, I was a customer first, and then I became having my own organization within the company. And the thing is that at first, 80% of the people that have a business in the organization, they were customers first. So they were, which is pretty huge, so this company doesn't spend money on like marketing, like all the other companies. It's mostly like people just word of mouth that do the products, have the amazing story and results. And that's what then, they tell somebody, if you're talking to someone's like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this or whatever. It always comes up in conversations with people, and you're like, well, this is what these products did for me, and this is what it's done for a lot of people. There's tons of reviews on it. If you're willing to try it, and at that point, people try it and their life changes drastically, and then they decide to get an organization within it. Like, I'm not too much into like multi-level marketing, but then I see where they put the money back into the people's hands, where they not only are they getting healed, but also then they're able to make money and help others heal. So to me, that's a win-win. Whereas other companies, they're spending all that money on marketing you something that could work or not work. It's not tangible, like it's not a real person's story.
Right. And especially when you're in, you can call it whatever you want, but when you're in the supplement business, I mean, unless you have 20, 30 million to market, because you're going up against monsters. So if you put all your money into marketing and, you're trying to run commercials, you're going up against, who knows who is behind it. Whereas it looks like with this, instead of all the commercials and the marketing, they'll go get people like you that have real stories, and then you tell somebody because of your notoriety, and they say, well, okay, I mean, this guy didn't get open heart surgery. It is on PubMed. Vida's all right. She's not on, she still has a uterus. What I mean? Things like that.
Yeah.
And then, it's to me, it's a better way to do it rather than risk marketing and go bankrupt.
Yeah. And Montel Williams, he's a distributor well.
He's got hands like that. That guy's got the biggest hand. Him and Michael Jordan have hands out to here. He's just got big hands.
You know that he had MS, right?
Oh, no. Did you know? Oh, you knew that?
He had MS for a long time, and he's been using these products for years now, and that's why he doesn't have the MS like the way most people when they get MS. Like one of my good friends that I grew up with, his brother died of having MS. He went from playing guitar to like being a vegetable in bed, and everybody had to do everything for him. But yeah, in YouTube, if you Google the Montel Williams and you put Protandim, he talks about it.
Wow.
Yeah. There's athletes that are on it. I don't know their names, but there's athletes that are on it. It's a lot of people. Yeah, it's really good products. But like not a lot of people know about it because it's mostly, word of mouth.
Yeah, we'll have it all. We'll have it all in the description, and your Instagram. That you definitely don't look like you're 41 or 32. And Instagram's just your name. Now, you got into OnlyFans, and I've had a couple people in, and they're like, yeah, I'm on OnlyFans, and I was kind of shocked at first, and they're like, no, you don't understand, Tommy. The money. They're like, I'm just taking pictures. Like, get the fuck out of here. And then a couple of them, they showed me. I go, what? Like buku dollars. When did you get into OnlyFans, and what do you think about like the stigma? Because if you tell your average person, hey, I'm on OnlyFans right away. Oh, what are you doing on OnlyFans? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of porn on OnlyFans. These girls are making ridiculous money.
Buku bucks.
I make average money because I don't really promote it as much on my page, and my page from 2020 when I was posting all the stuff with the vaccines and stuff, it got shadow banned. So like
I've been through that too.
My things have been low. But I opened up my OnlyFans in January of 2020. So yeah, I opened it. I didn't, they had reached out to me years before, and it's just like the whole stigma behind it. It was just like really not something that I wanted to do. But then so remember when I said I used to have my website and I used to have a membership section. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, it's the same thing. Like, so my Instagram, if I put something that's sexy, which could be, there's millions of pictures like that on Instagram and it doesn't get flagged, but somebody flags it on my page, and then my page is like, well, you got 2 strikes, another one and you get deleted. So then I was like, okay, well, in order to have the content that people, why people became fans of Vida was for my content. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to have them all go here. And I didn't think of anything of it. I think OnlyFans became popular after that because, most people were in quarantine and stuff like that. I think that's when it became a big thing in 2020 after the COVID. But yeah, I opened it up and, I have it there. It's there's no porn. It's just the same stuff that I always, have done. But then I have the ability to interact with my fans. Whereas like if they send me on Instagram a message that I may or may not see it, So this gives them more of a access to, talk to me. To tell you, I make decent money. I don't make ridiculous money like the people are making. They have to be doing something else because.
Oh yeah, they are. They are. I know they are. But I'm like, okay, I'm looking at, okay, hey, I don't judge anybody. I don't care. What do I care? But I was just, at first I was shocked at the numbers. I'm like, come on, just tell me the truth. And they would show me. I'm like, shit, all that, and you're just sitting there by yourself. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not like you're with anybody. You're just doing your thing. Good for you. Whatever.
But a lot of these people that are making a lot of money, they're with agencies, right? And then they have a bunch of workers that are responding to the people talking to them. If a guy thinks he's talking to the girl, he's just talking to another dude that knows the mind of the man and knows what to say to get more money out of him.
I used to. I got to tell you this funny story. You're going to die. So I used to have this guy, real nutcase, but really smart with the computer. And I had a website building thing and SEO, and he's in Pakistan. And there's this thing called Bingo or Bongo, Bingo. It's some Bingo Bongo thing, okay? And this guy would get thousands of dollars a month. And in Pakistan, that's a ton. But he was addicted to this shit. And he would go to the sites, kind of like an OnlyFans, and these girls would go on and they would say, send me a shield. Okay, now a shield's $500. But a person in Pakistan, they're dying to see an American naked. So this one girl is on there for 1 hour, and she's getting shields and it, because he was working for me, helping me out. And he would be like, hey, can I borrow this? And I'd be like, you just got paid, bro. What are you doing? And he goes, I got caught up on whatever, bingo, bango. So then I look at it, and literally they're just sitting there taking their top off, and these guys are throwing shields at them. This bro's making $5,000 in an hour on this thing. It was just so funny, and they get so addicted to it.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And with the thing with you, it happened to me too, where, I was having Dr. Malone in, McCullough, whenever the COVID thing was going on. And thank God, right before that, I had gotten a deal with Spotify where they just put a little blue thing. So now with me, when I put anything up, because I have to put it on Spotify first, let it there within the contract, and then YouTube. And I've noticed with YouTube, if anything with me is controversial, I'll see it go up, and then I'll check the next day, and it's either a strike, a warning, or it will go down, and I'll write them. And then I'll look at someone else that they're talking about the same thing, but maybe didn't have a Dr. Malone in them, or McCullough or Epstein, and nothing. They get fine with it. So kind of like you went to OnlyFans just to do what you've always done. Luckily, I got over to Spotify where I could check the numbers every day, and it doesn't change based on the woke thing, or I guess that's the new one now, woke or COVID or this or that, or, I don't know, $89 billion to BLM. And then I had Officer Tatum on, who's an African-American, and he's on for 3 hours talking about, like, this is crazy, And of course, he went up and down. And, it's just a nut world we're living in right now.
It's nuts. I mean, I knew this was happening like 10 years ago.
How'd you know?
And everyone thought I was crazy.
How'd you know?
Just because, I've been on my spiritual journey since 2007. So I've done a lot of like research, and I started to see a lot of patterns and that's why I've been in the limelight, but I haven't been, I have like one foot in the door and out the door. And I just done a lot of research, and I remember my ex in 2019, it was like June, and I said, I was like eating, and then all of a sudden I got like this information in my head. So I said it, and I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, what? And I'm like, a lot of people are going to die next year. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Something's going to happen, and a lot of people are going to die. And he just thought that I was crazy. And then, the next year, sure enough, that happened. He's like, man, I'm never gonna doubt you ever again. He's like, that's crazy.
No, I
Yeah.
believe it. That ESP thing. The only TED talk that they ever took down was Russell Tug, and he had worked with the CIA and a bunch of other people, and they were able to get within inner self, and they did some other things prior to that to be able to touch that. And these guys would find hostages, everything else. But for whatever reason, that is the only TED talk that they took down, because he was talking, I guess, too much about, oh, okay, you ate some mushrooms or did some DMT and you found yourself. Big deal. You went and found 300 hostages where a bomb was, where something was, and whatever. So after watching him and many other people, it's there. We all have it. You just have to be able to quiet the mind, right? To quiet the mind, and then be able to get within inner self. And it's just a pathway, just like I'm looking at you, but you have to quiet the mind to get to that dimension of life, kind of.
Yeah, that's when your mind is quiet, you are able to hear things, and yeah, that happened. And like, I don't question anything anymore. Like, whenever I get a thought or feeling or something, I just like really pay attention to it.
Anything you want you want to let us know, Vida? Anything you got going through there? You want to give us a tip? I can't imagine something doesn't happen before the election, but
I know. First, unfortunately it's gonna get bad before it can get better.
Yeah, but
it's gonna get better. The way things are going right now, I know it doesn't look good, but it's the election is next year, right? So definitely 2024 will be something probably happen.
When you get that thought, when you get that thought, get on a plane and come in person and let us all know what the fuck is going to happen, so we're ready.
Okay.
I didn't wear a mask the entire time of COVID. Nothing. I never got it. Never got it.
You're lucky. Well, okay, so technically I wanted to get it because I wanted to see. I did a video and people got so pissed off about it.
Yeah.
It's on my Instagram. I left it up there, and if you see people's comments, they're like talking crap. But I got sick on August of 2021. But what I experienced was the same thing that I've always experienced when I've been sick. It wasn't anything different. So how I got sick was, 2 days before I tested positive, I had gone to a spa, a Korean spa, and I did a body scrub and they wash your hair and everything. I came out with my hair wet, and it was 105 degrees in the valley in LA. And I go and I put the AC blasting with my hair wet in the car. I will normally get sick if I did that. And yeah. I wasn't even thinking of it. I did it. And then all of a sudden the next day I'm like, I'm like coughing. I'm like, oh, that's so weird. And then Saturday morning I woke up and I felt like crap, how I normally would be if I got sick. And so I took the test and it said I was positive. But to tell you the truth, it was like any other respiratory infection that I've had before in my life. Like I didn't have anything that I didn't have before.
Yeah, well, there was so much money involved, and then the guy who made it got the wrong proctals and tried to explain that, and the whole deal with all that mess. Total mess. Yeah,
so much truth is going to come out, and it's going to continue to come out. And you just, I tried to help people. Meanwhile, celebrities are telling people to go, get the solution. Yeah. And they're getting hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars to get people to do that. Me, I'm telling people not to get it.
Me too.
And telling people to take vitamin D, take all these things. And then I get shadow man. I don't make money. It's just like.
I don't get it. Like I said, he's coming back next month. The guy who made it, he sat right across from me for 4 hours. And he said, don't fucking take it. It will kill you. They might put heart attack. They might put stroke. He said, I made the mRNA. This will kill you. I got the wrong. Pfizer gave him the Proctals. And when they did the Proctals, Pfizer did their own case studies. So instead of it sending it to, California and Joe Miller and Tina Miller do placebo versus, the vaccine. Oh, somebody croaked. Okay, placebo. So they send him the Proctals. So he's like, okay, emergency thing, blah, blah, blah. The top vaccinologist in the world, Dr. Robert Malone. So he makes it, he puts it out. He tries it. He gets sick, almost dies, right? He takes, out of all things, Pepsid AC, or Pepsid, is that what it's called? Pepsid AC? Like the acid thing? That had calmed it down. And, he's a doctor, so he knows all the shit to take. So then 9 months later, he gets the Proctals from China, the right Proctals. And that's when he started coming out, like on my show, on Joe Rogan, on the news, and everywhere else. Because when do you see a vaccinologist come out of their cave? And he's a very nice guy, but those kind of guys don't go on podcasts. But when they get the wrong Proctals, and just as a doctor, they see what's going on, he's coming out and saying, look, this is the way it is. Then you got the top cardiologist in the planet saying, no, this is the Proctal. If you get it, ivermectin, this, that, and then they do a shortage on ivermectin. I mean, we could go on for hours about that shit, but it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. And then I have Del Bigtree came on, and he used to work with Dr. Phil, and he had built this thing where you could go to the website, and it had Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And him and his web, brains, they tapped into their systems or whatever. And you could see in real time how many people died, almost died, whatever. Boom. I put it, Spotify didn't care. Boom. I put it on YouTube. Week later, strike. Couldn't do anything for 2 weeks. It was just nuts. But it's real data. I mean, it's not like lying,
Yeah. So that's what then it's like, why real data? They're trying to silence the real data. That like people have to have discernment right now, because it's the wild, wild west, and you're being hit with truth and non-truth, and you have to decipher which is, and the only way you can have discernment is if you are in tune with yourself.
Yeah, and do your own research and make your own decisions, right?
Yeah.
Now, in all of your career, what are some things what are some of the most important things to remember? Like when you get famous, when you get notoriety, what are some things to tell women, men, young, it doesn't matter. What are some things to always remember to put in the back of your head?
There's really 2 or 3 things. First, you have to love yourself, right? And in order, like, truly love yourself, even like in your mistakes, in your ignorance or anything, you have to truly love yourself, and you have to be authentic and be yourself. Those are the main things that I think carry on in any, whether it be a relationship, or if you're starting a business, or you're working for someone, or you're, those are the main ingredients, as you will, to be successful in this life. And it nothing happens overnight, it's
patience.
You really, like, I remember when I first came out in FHM, like, my love for myself at that point was so high. It was so high. And, after you become famous, then you have the whole world telling you who you are, who they think you are based on a picture they see or whatever. They never met you a day in their life, or they caught something and they put you in a box. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's why I had the results that I had, with not knowing anything about the business or anything, just because I was myself. I wasn't trying to be anyone else. I had, they say expectations reduce the joy in life. So no expectations, just be, do, and have. And that's it.
That's some good advice.
That's what I would say.
That's some damn good advice. and name one or two.
With age comes wisdom,
Yeah,
So
yeah. Age and wisdom. Age, wisdom, a little bit of NAD. Good to go.
Yeah.
And
you have to have a healthy body to have a healthy mind.
Yeah. And other than them trying to take out your uterus and shoot you with insulin for the rest of your life and your boobs, other than that stuff, what are one or two of the biggest challenges you had throughout your career that you had to overcome?
I think one of them is caring what other people think.
Yeah.
Because like I said, at first I was, like very like in love with myself, and like I had a sense of myself. And when I was, broadcasted out into the world, when people were saying that, I'm like, that's what led me into my spiritual journey, is like, why are these people don't know who I am? Like, and one of the things that I've learned is that I need to speak more and not just show an image, because if you show an image, it's up to the person based on their own belief systems and their own interpretation of what they think a person is or something is. They're judging you based on their life and their beliefs. I think that would be like, learning how to be authentic in yourself and being happy with, discovering yourself and being happy with what you find.
Yeah. Go ahead, finish.
Go ahead.
Sorry. This is the Zoom thing, guys.
I was just gonna say, if there's something else.
There's got to be something else you could think of. That's really true, because, you put a picture up and they just make their own opinion unless you go out and you talk like this. And I guarantee you that all the kids I was growing up that had your picture on their wall in their bedroom, and then they see, 2 hours sitting with you having like just a really normal, intelligent, fun conversation, they're going to be like, huh? Because initially that's just the human being like that, So what you're saying is, when you get into something, especially if it's modeling, whatever it may be, also do things to show who you really are. And then maybe it would be easier to stick to who you are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just have to be authentic, and you have to let your voice carry you in your authenticity. And not only that, but like, do it in everything that you like. I put love into everything that I do. I don't I can't, like, I don't have no one else to follow. Like, I can't be anyone. No one can be anyone but themselves. You will have more success being yourself than to try to be someone else. And I think that's the most important thing.
And it sounds like
the challenge is not to worry about what people think, and just nothing happens overnight, and just keep at it. And when it's your time, then it'll be your time.
Did you? I would assume that some make this mistake. Did you turn down a lot of opportunities that you could have done just because your heart wasn't there? Like, your heart wasn't into it. You didn't love it. You could have done it. You could look back and say, well, I could have made this much or been this famous, but your heart wasn't there. Whereas nowadays, there's not a lot of people, in my opinion, this is just me talking, that will come out and say, hey, look, I could have done this, but I don't know if they even don't do it. They just do it for the paycheck. But if your heart isn't in it and you do it anyway, you could A, ruin your career just based off that because you really don't want to do it, or B, just end up going down a really terrible path. So within that, you having the strength, and I'm not speaking for you, it just seems like you had the strength where if your heart wasn't into it, you didn't do it. Doesn't matter what the offer was. I mean, maybe $1 billion you would, but
no. Look, I'll tell you a story. I also did music, and I was signed to a record label, and the owner of the record label wanted me to be his side woman. At the time, I was 31, he was 51, and he was married and had kids and stuff. He wanted me to be his side woman. He offered me $10 million, a house, and 3 cars of my choice to be his side woman.
Sold.
And I said no. And I said no, and then he put he shelved my music. He didn't do anything with it. He didn't, put time in studio time. He didn't do anything. He passed away of COVID.
Darn.
But at the times when I've been like super broke, and people were like, "Man, you see, you should have taken that opportunity." And I always say, you know what? I would have to look at myself every day and know that I did that. I grew up very poor. So money to me was never like a big thing. Yeah, it gives you the freedom to do things, and it's great when it's in alignment with you. But if I have to give up my integrity and who I am, no.
Sounds like you would have been his slave.
Yeah, no, hell no. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't.
Good for you.
I can't. Trust me. Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could do some things that, but it's just not in my nature. It's just like, I can't. It's no way.
Scott wants to dig him up over here and take the 10 million and see if we'll give it to him.
I could use some of that.
I know, and he still owed me like $10,000
that you never saw.
That I never saw.
So what's your plan? What's your plans for the future? I can only imagine. I mean, you got so much going on.
So I have a book deal.
Oh, right? Good for you.
And it's kind of like, I've shared some stuff that I haven't shared in any other podcast or any interviews.
Thank you.
I actually, I haven't. I've always been declining. And it's been a minute for us to get this going. But so, I have a book deal where I can speak about all the things that I've gone through and my experiences. And, it's like, okay, now at this next, portion of my life, next year I'll be 50. And it's like, what do I want to do? Like, what is it that I'm going to do? And I don't have all the answers yet. But I know it's taking everything that I've learned up to this far and, just sharing it with the world in whatever capacity that looks like. So I'm open to everything. I'm attached to nothing. Definitely want to move to Florida from California.
Getting sick of the taxes. Getting sick of that fucking tax bracket out there. When I moved from Pennsylvania, it was either going to be Florida or California. I wanted to go to California because I was a big Kobe fan. So I would fly. I had season tickets, so I would fly in on the weekends to see Kobe. So, and I had a bunch of businesses. And when I saw that tax bracket, I was like, ugh, Florida it is. I guess I'm just going to be hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But Florida is great. I like, because to me it's the same weather as Cuba. So I've been here. That's why I would never go back to Jersey because it's way too cold. And here it's, it's just, there's no reason for me to be here because when I first came, it was to be in acting and stuff like that. And, you just, it's a very challenging, kind of dark world a little bit. So
I hear you.
The kind of person that I am, I just don't think that it's.
You got to get down here, and then you can just drive up and come in person, and don't have to do Zoom.
Yeah,
and you don't have to worry about anybody asking you stupid fucking side questions all the time. But you know what? You write the book. You got a hell of a story. We just talked about a little bit. Next thing you know, it's a documentary. Yeah, who the hell knows? But I'm sure something big will happen for you. You're one of those people that just, you find the way. And,
Yeah.
for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I think it's really cool what you're doing and
Thank you.
talking about it. And we got your Instagram, we got the shop, we got the OnlyFans. We'll have all that in the description and push it as much as we can,
Thank you.
especially the supplements. I love that you got the NAD on there.
Yeah. I love it.
Love.
Ugh.
Well, thank you.
Life changing.
Life changing. Thank you for your time. And, hopefully,
Thank
if
so
you
much
get
for
stuck
having
in
me on.
California, then get on a damn plane and fly in.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to Florida next month. That's the goal next month, and then I'm just gonna look around because I have a lease here and it's done in May, so I'm just gonna look around. Last year I had put in 2 offers for houses, but I was outbeat because the Tampa market was just like crazy.
Oh, it went nuts here. It went a house that
Yeah.
right. Even I mean, they're coming down now, but a house that say a year and a half ago at the most 500 grand, you drive by and you look it up on Zillow, 1.2 million, double, triple,
Yeah.
quadruple, right?
Yeah.
I mean, nuts,
Crazy.
nuts. I mean, houses where you go across the street, you might get shot. $500,000.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
But they're coming down now, so
It's
I have an extra room.
it's nuts. You guys had a cool governor that was like,
yeah.
Everybody was like, I want to go because you know what, COVID did not exist in Florida.
Nah, it was like 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks, and that was
Yeah.
about it. Everybody was walking around. Nobody had masks on. People were
Yeah.
playing sports.
And you just felt like you were like in a whole different world there.
Yeah. And then I had
loved
to, I had to fly up to New Jersey, and I'm like, where the hell am I? Like, mask this,
Oh,
do this, gloves this, and then I would go to fucking McDonald's, and these people would have shields on. I'm like, you got a window. You got a window that you're sliding through. You know what I mean? Like, what do you got, biochemicals in there? That was nuts. So you got to get
It's
the far.
crazy. Yeah, I'm definitely that's the goal. So I'm putting it out into the universe, and we'll see.
Scott said if you want to move to New York, he's got a house for sale that he's been trying to sell, but nobody wants to go to New
No,
York.
no.
Nobody wants to go to New York. I can't sell anything. Unbelievable.
I know. I have a friend that she has a house in like upstate New York somewhere, and she's been trying to sell a house for the last 2 years. It's just like been hard.
How long have you been trying?
It's a little over a year. It's a beautiful high-rise, renovated condo. No one wants it.
And it's got the engineer from Howard Stern, and he still can't sell it.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
All right, Vida, thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in person soon.
Okay. Yes. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
good luck with the book.
Nice.
Were you ever on the Howard Stern show?
I don't know if I was. I mean, maybe. I don't even. I think I was. I think I was. I don't even remember.
I'm asking because I have Scott, the engineer from Howard Stern. He's in the back right now, hitting the buttons and everything for the camera. He does all the sound and the video.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was asking.
Okay.
him.
Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
I don't know.
I
I think I was, but I'm not sure.
It had to be a
can't confirm that.
long time ago because I was there.
Yeah.
I was there 30 years ago, and when you're in the heyday of your modeling days.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time. So we'll forget that.
I was just curious.
I don't look as good as she does, but obviously.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Liquid IV. This is a product I always use after I run, work out, and do the sauna. It's a great way to hydrate the body and feeling your best self. All you do is 1 stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water. It hydrates the body faster and more efficient than water alone. 3 times the electrolytes as other sports drinks and contains 5 essential vitamins, B5, B12, B3, B6, and vitamin C. It also tastes great. Flavors like watermelon, lemon lime, strawberry, and many more. Buy in bulk at Costco or go to liquidiv.com and use the code MSCS Media, no space, for 15% off. No other way to hydrate the body. This episode is sponsored by Aurora. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is? For years, this crime rate has been surging and affecting millions of Americans. I'm talking about identity theft, and there's a new victim every 14 seconds. Yet despite this, those who have had their identity stolen are often shocked when it happens. That's why I'm excited to partner with Aurora, who is sponsoring this video. Aurora is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all into one easy-to-use app. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. Protect you and your family from America's fastest-growing crime. Try Aurora for free for 2 weeks and see if you or anyone in your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial today. Go to aurora.com/MSCS. The link is in the description below.